Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? What are you up to? We're live. Perfect. Hello. How is everybody doing? How's things? Hello to John if you're still here, and the Donagans. Hello. Is that Alan? Hello. How you doing, man? How's things? It's been a while. Um, how is everybody doing? How's things? What has everybody been up to this last week? I've been up to a lot, some of which I can't tell you, and some of which I can. I'm testing this very shiny Asus laptop. This will be a Zephyrus G14, the new 2023 model. It's a Ryzen 9 7945 HS and an RTX 4090 mobile. I don't know why either. Hello HMB, how you doing? How's things? How's your week been? Hello Simon S63 Tech, how you doing? How's things? Oh dear. I seem to remember you were a bit poorly last week, Simon. How you doing this week? If you can't tell by my my slightly strained voice and my immovable arms, my stomach hurts a fair bit, so I apologize for all of the wincing. This week has been pretty up and down, but such the life of a bipolar person. Understandable. I can only sympathize, empathize, whichever one it is. And I hope you're doing all right. You know, as an overarching concept. Yeah. What's this thing? Oh yeah, the video you're gonna see tomorrow is I was talking about that last week. I think I actually had it out last week. This is one of the cheapest wireless gaming mice on Amazon. It's Amazon's choice. It's your stereotypical, you know, gaming mouse. Um, what's what's weird is so that button, right, is you know it's a sniper button, right? It's where your thumb lands, and you like you hold that for a lower DPI. Yeah, no, that just triple clicks left click. That just 1, 2, 3. You press that once, 1, 2, 3. I don't know. And of course, there's no software for this. You can't remap that. That just is the triple click button. Hello Joe, how you doing? How's things? Yeah, I never remember the difference between sympathize and empathize either. Well, I remember what they mean. Sympathize is when you well, it's easier to explain. Empathize is when you have you feel the same feelings, like you've had that same experience. Like if someone breaks their arm and you've broken your arm, you uh you empathize with that person because you have had the same experiences. Sympathize is I can imagine what that's like and it must be awful, I think. It's more I don't remember when to use it. Because in this specific case, I am not bipolar, but I do have ADHD, which comes with ADHD mood swings. So I do feel rapidly changing in emotion. However, I'm somewhat fortunate in the sense that there are only temporary mood swings. It could be a few minutes, it could be a few hours, it could be a day, but generally, you kind of recover fairly quickly from those. Simon S63 Tech sat waiting and video never came up, had to refresh the page. Cheers, YouTube. Nice. Well, I said hello, and I also said I seem to remember you were feeling a little poorly last week. How are you doing this week? Um, Joe, how are you doing? I'm good. Knackered long. Been a hell of a week doing 20,000 steps a day as a new routine and becoming granddad once again. I'm spent. Understandable. Yeah. Once again, congratulations. I think. And second, I also congratulations on the exercise. Uh, how am I doing? Well, I've started seeing a private therapist. That's something, because the NHS version of therapy is let's pick a very small problem and then let's gaslight you into believing that the problem's gone now. So uh but yeah, otherwise physical health poor. Um I sympathize. Understandable. Hello Ish, how you doing? How's things? Simon's still recovering. What I have is taking some shifting. Fair. I hope you're on the up and up soon. Hello Zig, how you doing? How's things? Have you taken the job yet? I have a new toy. It's a toy I can't use yet, but it's I didn't make this. In fact, the open source repo that it's from is there, if you're interested. But this is basically a PCB heater. So I'm waiting for the power supply to actually power the thing, but basically this acts as a hot plate. So when I need to solder or desolder stuff onto like these boards, you just put it on the plate. This one has a lot of two through hole things, so it won't work. But a fresh PCB, or I guess the side of the PCB, you put it on there. This gets real hot. This display tells you how hot it's getting. You can control it with these buttons. And then you know it heats up the solder paste. It melts it all. It solders it down. It's beautiful. Hopefully the power supply for it will arrive tomorrow. And it's quite cool because it's the right size for either of my boards, basically. Like the Pro boards, the bits that need to be soldered. Well, actually, the whole board does fit, but only the bits in this chip and the bits in the middle here need to be surface mount soldered. And it should just make things a bit easier, a bit nicer. So I'm hopeful that that works. Yeah. Oh, Andy, have they got back to you yet? The urgent callback they were going to give you? No, no, they haven't. I I did get the results for the chest X-ray, which was apparently I don't have any lung problems. My blood oxygen meter says otherwise, but okay. And also I am taking a daily inhaler, so I don't know if that would counteract any of the differences. Anyway, so yeah, there's clearly some more research to be done here. Whether my doctors are willing to do that or not is a different matter. um, so I went for a short walk today. It was only short because I'm in a lot of pain. And I got back and I felt really lightheaded and like drowsy. I checked my blood oxygen content with my little finger meter. It was 91%. Um, Anything under 95 and you're meant to like be in the hospital. um, so no. Um, ba 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 ba. Oh yeah, I should mention. Well, I can't tell you why, but the video that will come out, that should come out on Monday, is coming out on Tuesday at 4:35 p.m. Again, I can't tell you why, but trust me, you will want to watch it. Tuesday, 4:35 p.m. UK time. You can work out what that is in your relevant time zone. Tuesday, 4:35 p.m. Hello, Chris. How you doing? How's things? Have you felt any better in general, though? I know you were really struggling physically with it, so you're looking brighter at least. Well, um, I don't think so. um, but yeah, I mean, I'm still alive and kicking, so yeah. um, hello, our other Simon, our Australian Simon. How you doing, man? How's things? 4:35 is very specific. I know. Why not 4:20? I'm not allowed. That would be illegal. Um, are you now physically capable of playing PUBG? I could probably after the stream, yeah. Game or two. Yeah, why not? We get Essentialist in Sean. Andy, it's looking like I'll be in Australia for 6 weeks at the end of the year and seeing what happens after that, hopefully. Hey, nice. I hope you enjoy it, man. It's the sort of opportunity that I don't imagine many people have. And I'm sure it's going to be you know, a fair bit of work anyway, but yeah. Yeah, what city are you going to? Because I'm sure that of the few Australian people that we have watching the stream, you're probably going to at least one of their cities. Brisbane, nice. I must admit that I don't remember Australian geography all that well. I know that basically all of it is on the southeast coast area, southeast area. But yeah. I can't remember where Tim and Steve are from Horror Unboxed. I know that they live like several hours apart though. Perth is southwest. Yeah, I knew there was one city on that side. Ow. As I said earlier, you have to apologize. The static figure and less than emotive body language because my stomach hurts a fair bit. So does my lower back. So do my legs. Australia's a big old place. I'm sorry to the Australians. It is indeed. Most of it's uninhabitable. But then again, it could be Grimsby. Sorry, Joe. Oh dear. Oh, there's some actual tech news if you're interested. It's kind of corporate drama. Unity, the game engine, well, the company that makes the Unity game engine, who are also called Unity, have decided to implement a rather interesting monetization strategy. If I tell you that the current CEO of Unity was the former CEO of EA, do you get the picture of what's happening here? So basically, uh, the uh, the like Unity game engine is going to be charging a per install basis as of January. Oh god. So basically, if you say offer your game as free to play, you're going to need to pay 20 cents per installation. Now they have since clarified that a lot of the things that people might be concerned about, like repeat installations, like if a user downloads uh, the the game multiple times, that's not gonna count, all that sort of stuff. But they're still gonna charge you 20 cents per install, and if you have, I don't know, a million installations, you better cough up the money. um, and yeah, it's not going down very well with anyone really. I think there was also some speculation, like their initial wording, I think made it sound like they were going to be backdating these charges as well. So if you already had 10 million installations, you better come up with what, $2 million, like in January. Happily, it seems like they are at least being sensible in the fact that they're not trying to backdate it. But also, it's kind of wild because I think like 50% of all games on Steam, the Play Store, and the App Store are all made in Unity, right? So 50% of the world's video games are suddenly being forced into having another charge added to them, and to their installations. And what's even funnier is that there are actually big companies who sell games that were built with Unity. And yeah, I don't know how well that's going to go. I think some lawyers might be involved. Yeah. The former CEO of Evil Alliance. Oof. um, yes. Apparently, that the CEO once suggested to EA that in first-person shooter games they should charge players to reload their guns, or at least quick reload, which one is literally pay to win, and two, can you imagine getting to the end of your magazine in Battlefield and then having a microtransaction to bill you $3.99 for your next mag? You'd stop playing in an instant. You'd see that text box and you go, "Oh well, I'm out of bullets then." Close the game. Like, what? Oh dear. Luckily, that idea didn't seem to stick around, but yeah, yikes. Um, Hello, Luca. Do you see the Birmingham Council ERP invoice project started at £10 million. Invoice came to 100 million. I relate to them so much because I work with councils every day and they have grandparents running the IT. Um, all ERP systems, for those who don't know, ERP is Enterprise Resource and Planning. So things like SAP and I've forgotten all of the other ones. But things like that are what your enterprise uses to manage resources. Salesforce, yeah, Workday, all those sorts of ones. To manage resources, to manage invoices and inventory and, you know, like employees and HR and everything in your business, basically, right? What SKUs of products you have, where they are in their manufacturing process, etc. Basically, all ERP systems suck. And they all cost an insane amount of money. And yeah, I can only imagine that working with a council on top of it being an ERP system is insane. Because yeah, councils are not tech savvy organizations. So yeah, I hate involving councils. It's a pain, and they never pay on time. Office nightmare. Interesting. I've never had to bill a council for any work, happily. Yeah. Hello, Telesto, how you doing? And hello, R. Phillips. How you doing, man? How's things? Most of our councils don't pay. Jesus. He runs an over 60s football community in Lincolnshire, West Yorkshire, and there are often verbal clashes between a few of them, and he's document them for legalities. In reference to wanting a dictaphone slash text to speech engine. So personally, I would probably just get a voice recorder, because you can always transcribe it later. You can always, take the clip and transcribe it. You can, voice to speech to text it later. What you really care about is the audio recording, because the audio recording is not only what was said, but who said it and the sort of evidence that they did say it. So yeah, I would mostly just focus on a small recorder. Yeah. I've threatened court proceedings with a council and a football club, both paid up. Nice. Yeah. I haven't had that many problems with companies paying, but it's in a sort of beneficial arrangement, and I have innate leverage in the publicity nightmare that it can be. As MSI found out. So yeah. I found out this week that Microsoft actually have real enterprise support, and they know how to troubleshoot Linux issues very well. That's kind of impressive. He's got a dictaphone or a recorder, but wants one that transcribes it live. I think realistically, as others have said, speech to text on a phone may be a decent option. I think it's more because he can't be bothered to type it up afterwards. Fair, yeah. I mean, you can just do like have the recorder play while he does speech to text on his phone, and have it right out that way. Yeah. Yeah, there'll probably be some like dictaphone transcription app, actually. I wouldn't be that surprised. Working on a laptop with Windows and N3050 dual core Celeron. Upgraded the RAM from 4 to 8 gig. It's still awful. Would any distro of Linux help? So quite possibly, generally because Linux is a little bit more of a lightweight operating system. It depends what you want to do with it. If you just want web browsing, then yeah. I personally like Pop! OS because it comes with drivers pre-installed and it generally works. Ubuntu is fine, but then you have to work out what drivers to install, especially display drivers. And yeah, a lot of the Linux distros will what do you call it? Have a live view model, like a live run live USB model. So when you create the bootable USB stick and boot from the USB stick to go to install that operating system, there's also there's often a sort of what you might call a trial mode, so you can boot from the USB stick and use the operating system from the USB stick. It's not perfect. It will run from RAM most of the time, but especially if it runs out of RAM, then you might want to what do you call it? Live boot, that's the word. You know, then you might be bottlenecked by the USB stick, but it means that you can try it out. It means that you can boot to that operating system, that Linux distro, try it out, test it, see how it actually performs. And if you don't like it, boot back into Windows, create a different USB, you know, swap swap distros, that's the one, and go from there. Also, as Ish says, you can use Ventoy, which is really handy for you install Ventoy on your USB stick, and then you just copy the ISOs, and then you can pick what ISO to launch from Ventoy. That's great. I have Pop! OS on my cheap laptop. It doesn't have all the drivers, hashtag SandPanda, but I persist. Live CD is bae. Nice. I mean, Linux is, as a kernel, is designed to run on literally anything. So you're fine. But yeah. Isn't there some software in GitHub where you can debloat and turn off all the call home stuff in Windows? Used it on an old Mac and it worked well. And yes, there is a lot of the sort of debloat tools. I myself have a PowerShell script that works quite well. But yes, there is. It doesn't necessarily get rid of a lot of the weight of Windows as an operating system in general. Windows can have a bit of a fairly high overhead compared to some of the Linux distros, which are often doing functionally nothing in the background. Whereas if you open Task Manager, even with a debloated system, just the system processes, there's hundreds of them. Which doesn't necessarily mean they're doing a lot, but yeah, you get the point. So yeah, we've reached the Andrew going mad part. Because I don't remember what I was talking about. Well, we're talking about the live USB. I had something in my head to talk about, but it has gone. We were talking about the Unity thing. That was kind of some interesting drama this week. A lot of people are, I think, quite rightfully upset about that. Because what's funny is that there are a lot of other game engines, including things like Unreal Engine, which changed their policy. So there's now, it's free to use Unreal Engine, and it's also free to publish, with the caveat that I think it's after you make $1,000 in revenue or something from your game, which, by the way, more than 50% of games on Steam never will. But if you do, you then have what you call it, a relatively small cut in revenue share. I can't remember exactly what it is. My memory says something like 5%. You give Epic 5% of your revenue. I can't remember exactly, but yes, that basically is on brain. Please come back again. So that method means that for, you know, if you make 10,000, you only give, can't do maths in my head, a few quid to Epic from that, you know, 500 quid or something. And I'm pretty sure that you can also buy Epic share out. Like, you can buy Epic's 5% out, or whatever it is, such that you get you have a one-time fee, but then you're, you know, free for, so for the larger game studios, they can afford to just buy Epic out, and then they'll make more money from having that extra 5% kind of thing, you know. No worries, John. I hope to have you here at some point. Best thing about Unity, it's the board sold off like 20 million in shares before the announcement, and then their price sank, funnily enough. I think Unity shares are down like 50% over the last couple years, which I think is why they're getting desperate. But yeah. You know what? I'll just look it up. Unity are going to back down. They're getting a lot of heat. The issue is what they back down to. Yes. But, what you call it? Also, people like Reddit were under a lot of heat too. And yeah. Oh yeah, so it's who was it? Simon is right. So it is a 5% royalty, but you can make $1 million US before they start taking that 5%, and you can also then like pay for a license from them if you expect that you are going to be making enough money to offset the paying them, like buying that 5% off of them. So yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable. Yeah, like they do have an enterprise program, which is apparently for like premium support and stuff, which is $1,500 per seat per year, which is also not all that bad. But still, yeah, not bad. Oh, not that one. That one. I missed last week. Did you have any brief thoughts on the 7800 XT? I have a G-Sync monitor from 2018, so I'm stuck on NVIDIA, but otherwise I'd probably buy it over the 4070 I've been planning on. Yeah, fair. I obviously didn't get one, so my opinions are, you know, just based on what I've seen from, you know, reviews. From what I have seen, it looks pretty promising. It looks like a pretty decent, you know, value proposition. It is a bit of a shame that it has like somewhat significantly fewer cores than the last gen card. And even though it runs a bit faster, there's, you know, a few other changes, which means that as a general it is a bit faster than the 6800 XT. It's still annoying. So yeah. But especially compared to the 4070, 4070 Ti, whatever, it does look like a pretty decent deal. That's for sure. Hello, Harry. How you doing, man? How's things? And no worries. Glad to have you whenever you can be here. Yeah. I heard something on the radio today about IBIS project for EVs. Supposedly it's working on microinverters built into the battery cell to remove the need for DC charging on EVs on the EV to eliminate, I assume that's charging losses? Except, so I purely just based on the information that you've told me, and I can just, I'll just look it up. Well, it's already a bad start because I googled the words IBIS project, and it's come up with a Python library. Yeah. uh, how the IBIS project is making EVs simpler. Da, 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 da. No. Right. So no. Right. So I think the idea from the very brief article that I've just skim read, and that makes me an expert, is so batteries are inherently DC direct current devices. I'm looking around for a battery. I don't have any. But they are current flows out one way and in the other to complete the circuit, right? They are not alternating current because you're storing the charge between two plates and then the charge transfers between those two plates, and that is allowing the current to leave the battery, right? So the thing is that our power grid uses alternating current AC, which is a sine wave. And so, for example, with solar, to be able to take the energy that we generate from the sun, which is also generated as DC energy, or direct current DC, that has to be run through what we call an inverter, which takes that direct current and converts it into alternating current so that we can then power our devices, which I remind you mostly just use DC power at the end of it. It just goes from the DC of the solar into AC to run through an often fairly short wire to then run through your power supply of, say, your monitor or your computer to then be turned back into DC power to then be used. Now, the thing is, in electric vehicles, the motors do technically use alternating current to drive the motor. The thing is, that alternating current does not come straight from the battery, it comes from a motor controller and inverter where the battery gives some amount of direct current power to the inverter that converts it. Except the thing is that the motor that's like in your washing machine, right? That motor is powered straight off of your wall power AC a lot of the time, and it just switches which pole it gets connected to then spin it around, which is great. The thing is, cars' electric motors are not that style of motor. They require a lot of intense control and regulation, and that's why the motor controller and inverter is such a key piece to control the motor itself. And so you're still going to have some stage between the battery with these microinverters and the actual motor itself. It's not just going to be some magic direct control. So there's that part, and then also for charging, there are charging losses in the DC fast chargers, right? Because you have to take what is often three-phase alternating current from our power grid, convert it into DC to then plug into the battery. However, it's actually really, really efficient because you can have a massive substation, like cargo ship sized box off to one side that does that conversion really efficiently, right? Like it's 95% efficient or something along those lines. You should fact check that that data point exactly. But it's very efficient. And then that means that the DC power that gets plugged straight into the battery goes straight into the battery with nothing in the way, and so it's effectively 100% efficient. There is still some losses in heat into the cable, which is why a lot of the really high power ones, like the 350 kilowatt fast chargers, the actual cables are water cooled. But it's a direct connection basically to the battery allows for a very efficient transfer of energy, whereas all of those microinverters are going to have inefficiencies in and of themselves, and they're not going to be able to just dump power into the batteries with the same level of efficiency as a like cargo ship, cargo container sized inverter and fast or DC fast charger can. The article mentions that it might be better for smaller vehicles, which maybe that's true because you then can potentially simplify your motor controller. You can simplify the charge controllers. But I'm a bit suspicious. And I'm not sure how that would actually change the cost, because you then need to manufacture, tens of millions of microinverters to fit on each battery and find the space for that and manage the heat around say the battery instead of just having a semi-dumb battery pack with just a battery management system built into it to balance the cells, and then a box with your DC to DC and AC charger circuitry. But hey, I'm not a automotive engineer. Yeah. Why can't we have 24 volt / 12 volt DC line in our houses? Mostly because of efficiency. The thing with DC is the voltage sag over a wire is massive. And power doesn't transmit all that well over wire in DC, which is why we don't use it for our power grid. AC charging is only up to 50 amps approximately, whereas DC to DC is up to 1000 amps, hence fast charging rates. Yes. Yeah. I mean what you call it? But the power difference is massive there, because if you have a 800 volt battery, and you're charging that at well, even I really can't do maths in my head. Kilowatts, right? Yeah, so if you're charging an 800 volt battery at 500 amps, that's 400 kilowatts. And yeah, that's pretty decent. Whereas with AC charging, it's going to be your grid power, so 240 volts here, at whatever 50 amps, that's 12 kilowatts. You're not fast charging your battery with that. And again, there's efficiency losses in that as well. But is it really power if it hasn't been converted half a dozen times? Yes. For gadgets and stuff. Yeah, exactly. They're making it sound like the modern version of a hybrid self-charging setup without the engine, cutting the need for home charging. It's playing on people not knowing how it all works. Well, how are they planning on charging? Like, where are they planning on getting the energy to charge the batteries from? If that is the case, like, if what you're saying is what they were representing, I don't know how they're planning on getting self-charging. Where from, right? I found the closest thing I could find to what we're talking about here. I sent you a link on Discord. I'm probably reading something similar. Which chat was it in? Or was it direct? Not on stream chat. But yeah, so yeah. Car question: how to work at the best tire temperature for track? So it's generally going to be lower than your everyday. Oh, it's in general. It must have been in general. Yeah, it's going to be lower than your everyday temperature, and you normally just want to work it out based on your like tire wear degradation. You can try look up guides for your specific tires. If you have TPMS, that can be pretty handy because you can then work out what the pressures get up to while you're out on track, like while you're doing your hot laps. If you can see what temperature they're at, or what pressure they're at rather, that helps a fair bit. But it's normally just a game of it's normally a guessing game, fair to say. Atlantis recently revealed an ambitious plans to halve the battery weight. Intelligent Battery Integrated System, or IBIS. Okay. So, how are they? If they're gonna half the battery's weight, that means they're taking out half the cells. Like that's the only way you half a battery's weight, is to take out half the cells. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna need some more information on this to understand what they're talking about, because seems stupid to me. Yeah, like it doesn't sound like they're getting the efficiency is going to be any better, really. Yeah, the only way that you half a battery's weight is either take half of the cells out, or you find a new battery chemistry. Yeah, no, it's not self-charging. Like, this is the thing with any sort of perpetual motion or free energy, whatever. The energy has to come from somewhere, right? Energy has to be conserved. So when you look at, I don't know, magnets doing stuff, most of the time it's because there is another force. You're pushing the magnet, you're doing whatever. There is also inherent energy stored in that magnetism, which then gets weaker over time as the magnet degrades, so that also is energy. But you know, with electric cars, like the reason why you can't just, there's a picture from like 2015 or something where someone strapped an alternator to the wheel of their like Chevy Volt, you know, the EV, and people were like, "Oh, 4,000 IQ move! It's charging the car while it's driving." Except the energy has to come from somewhere, and let me tell you that there are efficiency losses. So what's happening is that motor, or that the car, is having to work slightly harder to drive that alternator, and because it's working slightly harder, any amount of energy that it's recouping into the battery, if it even was set up to charge, is significantly lower than the amount of energy that the car is draining to turn the alternator. So all of these solutions, like all of these, you know, ideas, energy has to come from somewhere, and in this case, with an electric vehicle, if you don't have a hydrogen fuel cell or a internal combustion engine of some kind, or some other external source like solar panels or whatever, where's the energy coming from? You know, it has to come from somewhere. So yeah, it kind of sounds like it's perhaps less than informed. Maybe newscasters might be the right word for that, but yeah, it's not a. There are no miracles, sadly. Yeah. I don't think there could even be an alternator that could put enough charge into a car to sustain any sort of charge. Well, the thing is that like the electric motor in electric and even some hybrid vehicles acts as an alternator, acts as a generator when you are slowing down, right? If you're going down a hill and you lift off your foot and you've got regenerative braking, you have an alternator, a generator built into the car that is significantly charging the battery, but it's using the kinetic energy of the car going down a hill and slowing the car down to recoup that energy. That's where the energy is coming from. It's coming from the potential energy of your car going down a hill. In the same way that, you know, having a hydroelectric plant, having water in a dam and then forcing that water through a turbine and spinning it up as it falls, that's generating power, right? But it also, you had to put the water up there in the first place. And so there's, you know, some efficiency losses in that too. But, you know, for grid scale stuff, that's fine. And for, you know, regenerative braking, that's fine. But you're never going to end up with, you know, if you drive up a hill and then back down the hill, you're not going to end up with the same amount of energy that you started at, because it takes more energy to go up than you will ever recoup going back down at the same height difference, grade difference, etc. As it says, recovering some of the energy put in by using the motor to put the car up there in the first place. Always go downhill. Cracked it. If you can, sure. You'll never get home again. But realistically, how much does regenerative braking add in terms of range? Is it noticeable? Yes, it's quite significantly noticeable. You do recover, like, it's you only recover you know, a maximum of it depends on the vehicle and all that sort of stuff, but you're only going to recover 50 to 100 kilowatts depending on the vehicle generally at a time, and you know, you can only do that for some amount of time before the vehicle just comes to a stop. But if you think about how much wear your brakes go through, you know, how much energy you waste by pushing on the brake pedal, imagine all of that energy got put back into the battery every time you came to a stop. That's pretty decent. I don't know off the top of my head what the balance is, like, how much range regenerative braking, especially in urban environments, gives you back. What sort of percentage, uh, but it's pretty significant. You wouldn't bother implementing it if it wasn't. Entropy is a vicious beast that's always taking its share of the spoils. How poetic. um On my MG, my rear tires are cracking up. Nothing to worry about, right? Totally. I mean, it depends how cracked and how far and how sketch you want to be. Probably not a good idea. Yes. My Mazda 6 has regen braking just to charge the regular battery. Yes, BMWs and I think even Audis do that as well. They just use the alternator, but they allow more current while you're braking. Like, they don't charge the battery, they don't allow much current out of the alternator while you're accelerating, and then they use the engine decelerating to charge the battery more, which then helps slow the car down a bit more. Not by much, especially not by electric vehicle standards, that's for sure. But it helps a bit, and it means that it's not as much of a parasitic drain while you're using the power as well. Can't remember what BMW calls it. They have a name for it. Yeah. I always thought it was a minuscule amount of return. Every day is a school day. Well, every Thursday is a school day for me. Well, I'm happy to be a worryingly young teacher. And yeah, no, it's pretty significant. If you've ever driven an electric vehicle with max regen mode on, the amount of braking that you get as you lift off the accelerator is quite significant. Like, it's as much as I brake in my, with my brake pedal, but that's just recouping energy back into the battery. That's decent. I won't test drive one because then I'll want one. Yeah, fair. There are some bad ones that you won't want after you drive one. You should drive a oh, I shouldn't say that. What should I call it? There are a few, especially of the cheaper variety, that you won't like. The Vivaro E I borrow occasionally off my friends feels like it's going to flip itself over on its front when regen is at max. It's like emergency braking. I hate it. Well, it's funny because especially... Apologies for the multiple loud vehicles going by. When I had the Ioniq 5 in, as part of the review process, I basically have to drive it every single day and drive it as my main vehicle, really get used to it, get to know it, to know what's good and what's bad. The thing is, when I then got back in my Audi S4, it took me like several days to get back used to having to press the brake pedal again, because I just left the Hyundai on max regen, and it was great. Like, you don't have to touch the brake pedal until you're actually coming to, like, at a full stop and you just want to hold the car there. And it's so much easier, right? So yeah, it's yeah. I didn't get close to rear-ending anyone, but it was I thought my car was broken for a bit. Or I knew it wasn't, but it felt like my car was broken. I was like, this can't be right. This can't be how it was. No, 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 that's not right. um, I'm trying to find reasons why I shouldn't take out more loans to buy a Volvo S70R in the same saffron gold color as my brother's V70R. How about the insurance cost? You can't afford it. My clutch is so heavy now. I got in another car and it felt like a toy car. You should drive a Peugeot 308. It's interesting. Alex, just like your stream for better traction. Thank you very much. And try a triple clutch brass button on my. Tried a triple clutch brass button on my mate's race car. That's a heavy clutch. Is either on or off. Yeah, fair. Even the Formula 3000 that I drove a week and a half ago, the clutch wasn't that heavy. Other than my 15k of existing debt, can't think of any. Mine's on or off. Yeah, that's. I mean, you know, I drive a DSG, so I can't talk, but I don't know that I'd want to daily that. Let's say. Before I disappear, I want to reiterate, if you weren't here earlier, the video that will normally be out on Monday will be coming out on Tuesday at 4:35 p.m. I can't tell you why, but you will want to be there to watch it. Yeah. That's the only thing I don't like about my 2015 308. The other thing I don't like about the 308s is that the steering wheel is, like, horrendously small. Like, it's comically small. I got, Odyssey Geo, a G9 57-inch Neo doesn't do 240 Hz from 4090. If you're using DisplayPort, that should be fine. If you're using HDMI, I don't think it will. Hello, John. Yeah. You get used to it, though. Yeah, my friend Phil has a 308 and he's pretty used to it. It's just comical. Only has DP 1.4 on my 4090. I thought they had DP 2.0, whatever it is, whatever the newest one is. Yeah. That's strange. Oh, the 1700 XTX. I'm pretty. Fair enough. I didn't think that would be a limitation, but yeah, fair. Anyway, I'm gonna call it there. That is our usual hour. So as always, these are every Thursday night at 8 p.m. UK time. So we're gonna pop back next week. Feel free. Also, like I said, Tuesday, 4:35 p.m. UK time. Right? Got it? Good. I'll see you then.